Welcome back, and thank you so much again for joining us tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. We had some crazy hoopla go on the last session, but I was able to, at this point, reselect my microphone and go from there, and my sound is bouncing, so everything looks good. Welcome back, Dr. Kimberly McGeorge. Oh my gosh,
Thank
I'm
you.
so sorry this happened.
No
I
problem.
It makes me feel so unprofessional. I'm like, "Oh man." And you've been so
Not your
patient,
fault.
so thank you so
Not your
much.
fault. No problem.
Well, welcome back. So, I'm trying to remember where we left off. Okay, so we were talking about Bigfoot, what we think they are, so on and so forth. I don't know. I've heard different things. They could be in aliens. I've also heard stories from people here in Colorado who claim to have bought property and their houses being broken into and their vehicles are being disturbed by Bigfoot and they believe fairies. So maybe like
Really?
Bigfoot is the brawn and the fairies are the brain, and so the fairies are like, "Hey, come in here and do this and this and that and that," and they kind of work in league. Have you ever heard anything like that?
That's interesting because I believe every single human being, and maybe empty houses too, have pixies, fairies, gnomes, dwarves. I was woken up one time at 3 in the morning, and I didn't even know why. It was like half sleepwalking. I got out of my bedroom and I went to the front door and I looked out, and there was like a troll playing hide and seek with like behind my garden pole. I have it on video. I have to, it's from a number of years ago. I'm going to have to try to find it.
Was
But
it a
it's the
troll or a gnome?
craziest. At first I thought it was a gnome, but it was like uglier than, like it
Oh,
was more
yeah.
sinister. It had like the fact that it woke me up. Like I honestly don't think a gnome, like the energy of a gnome doesn't feel like it would like wake you up and like summon you. Like that's kind of creepy. Like I don't
Yeah,
think a
they're more.
gnome would do that.
Yeah, I feel like they're more like quiet and to themselves, and they'd rather not have your attention. They kind of prefer to do their things, you know.
Yeah, but a troll kind of to me is like a prankster, like darker prankster energy. I mean, it wasn't doing anything bad to it. It was super creepy, and I'm like half asleep looking out my window, and I'm like, I'm gonna go get my phone. Like, this is insane. I'm like, what is this thing? But it's crazy. I'll have to try to find that and send it to you. But the weirdest thing has happened since I've moved into this house. So every morning when I get up, my pictures and especially when my house isn't clean, my pictures, I have to straighten every single picture. It's like out of 45, like really knocked off center. They hang upside down. It's like knocked to the left like a ton. And then the other thing I think they do is I have these antique like toilet paper dispensers. Like instead of putting it on the wall, they like stand. It's like on a stand by the toilet. And the way you lock it in place, it like winds and then you lock it in place so it doesn't fall down. Yeah, right. So what they do is they unscrew it, so when I go to reach for the toilet paper, it was like, woo, it goes down every time. It ticks me off. But it's like that prankster pixie fairy energy. So all that to say, I know there's Sasquatch here. I know there's Dogman here. There's like ancient cats here. There's fairies here. The first night I moved in, I have clear pictures of this. On my security camera, I got this alert, human detected or
Oh,
something
wow.
on the side of my house. Of course, I'm freaking out because I'm in the middle of the woods and my security line's torn on all up. And so I look at all the cameras, and on the left side of the garage, there's, in North Carolina, we call them little people. They're not exactly fairies because they're like more human-like than fairies. Like they don't fly, but there is and even the camera identified him as human. There's like a 1.5 foot man dressed in
Oh
like
my
soldier
God.
gear.
That is
Yeah.
exactly like what I saw in Arkansas on Wildcat Canyon
For real?
Road. Yeah, and I call it a little person, and it was about
Oh my gosh, you're freaking me out.
14 inches
Yeah, yeah.
tall. Yeah,
Yes,
and they looked
yes,
exactly like people, but tiny.
yes. And he stood out there for 3 nights. I have pictures of him on my security camera. I even got up out of bed because I'm like, I bet I can see him. And you know what's weird? For once, I couldn't see him because it was raining. He stood out in the rain for 3 nights. I don't know. I felt like he was just telling me that they were here and introducing himself and they were going to guard and look out for the property. But for
Mm-hmm.
3 nights in the rain, he stood out. And I went out, I opened the door because I thought I would be able to converse or see him. I couldn't, but I still said to him, I'm like, do you want to come in the garage? Like, I didn't know if he wanted to come in.
Yeah,
I'm
get
like
out
insane.
of the rain.
Yeah, but he didn't. He stood out there I have pictures of him for 3 nights in a row, standing in the same, not quite the same place. He moved around a little bit, but standing out there. It's so weird.
That is interesting. And it's funny because, okay, I think I was 16, almost 17 when I saw these little people, but I had moved from Colorado back to Arkansas and I was living in my sister's house and I was staying in her daughter's room. So her daughter was sleeping on the top bunk. I, of course, was sleeping on the bottom and I heard
Yeah, of
this
course.
noise and me and my sister would stay up all night playing Boggle. And so I got excited. I was like, "Oh yeah, she's going to get up. She's going to come out and play Boggle with me."
Oh,
And I was sitting there waiting for her to come out, and then all of a sudden I see these two little people, and that's what I call them exactly, little people. Because they're not
my
gnomes,
gosh.
they're not trolls, they're not anything like that. They're actual
Right.
little people.
They're like
And
little humans. Yeah.
yeah, and that like totally answered the questions of where do my socks go or my underwear or other things during laundry. Like I know I put
Totally.
them in there and now they're missing.
Seriously. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Exactly. So we think the washing machine eats the socks. Yeah, I don't think so.
No. Yeah, how
uh,
could they get through those little holes? I don't think so.
yeah, good point. That's a good point.
But it was
Really good
funny
point.
because they got up. Okay, so they're in the kitchen area. There's this little space. So it's like a little cabinet space, and then there's a top to it. And then you go up, and it's like a coffee cup or a china hutch or whatever you want to put in there. She had her coffee cups and some plates and stuff in there. And they're in between those two spaces, which is exactly about 20 inches apart, but they were about 14 to 16 inches tall and they're sitting there and they're jabbering back and forth.
Oh
And
my gosh.
I'm
They
like,
were
oh my,
talking?
yeah, they're jabbering back and forth and they're so super cute. And the one went over to the edge, and the other one, being like a little prankster, pushed him. And so he fell off the edge, but he was able to flip around and grab onto the edge and pull himself back up. And then they
Oh
started
my
pushing and shoving and fighting. And you can hear them bickering back and forth. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm seeing this right now. So I decided to sit up. Once I sat up, I lost view of them. So I was going to sit up and
Oh,
go in there and confront them or whatever. But once I sat up and lost view of them, they were gone.
yeah.
I could not find them again. And that's the only time I ever saw them. But it was amazing to me because I'm like, these things actually exist. That's where my socks went.
But you know how I can tell you and your audience how to see. I mean, I can tell you a way to see them. You're not going to be able to see them necessarily full force, but one of the ways you can see them and you can video it too is you leave a hall light on. This is creepy though. You leave a hall light on and you turn out all the lights in your bedroom if you have an ensuite bath, whatever. So it's dark where you are and it's light in the hall. And so you lay down in your bed and you kind of like get relaxed, relax your vision, get out your camera because they will run and be crawling and peeping under your door every single time. I'm telling you, it's 100%.
Well, yeah, and like you said, if you have your door closed, you see the shadows going back and forth, and you're like, what is
Yeah,
that?
have you seen that?
Yeah, I have. It's like, what is that? And then
Yeah,
you
and you
open it
can
up, you
video
don't see
it. It's a
anything.
video. It's creepy. It's creepy.
And
I've
it
never
makes me,
gotten up and opened my door though.
yeah, it makes me wonder about the takers. Okay, so you put down your cigarettes and your lighter, or your car keys, or your wallet, or whatever else,
Exactly.
and it goes
Yep.
missing, and I call them the takers. The little people to me are the takers. And
Yeah,
my
and that's like a
daughter,
pixie energy. Yeah, I agree.
yeah, my oldest daughter has had things go missing, and I'm like, sister, I call her sissy or sister. I'm like,
That's
ask
adorable.
them,
That's what I call
did you
my
ask
dog.
them nicely to bring it back? Because you have to ask them nicely. If you're rude about it, they won't do it. But if you ask them nicely, like 90% of the time, they will bring it back. And they
That is
do.
true. They took one of my rings, my favorite rings. It
Oh my
wasn't expensive. It was
gosh.
just meaningful. It wasn't like a
Yeah.
diamond ring or anything, but it was like from a trip I had with my girls, and it was like a silver ring, and they haven't brought it back, and I'm really sad about it. I'm working
Aw.
on them. I even like someone told me to leave them milk, and my daughter's like my
Oh,
really
milk and
routine daughter. She's
honey.
like, no, she said leave honey, not milk. She's like, Mom, they don't want milk. That's like a European thing. They want honey, and I haven't left out honey. Maybe I will tonight. We'll
Mm-hmm.
see.
Yeah, leave some milk and honey and maybe like a little piece of toast or something.
Cracker, cookie.
Yeah. Or,
Yeah, I'm gonna make a
nice
little
buttery
plate with a
toast.
note. I'm gonna make a note, please, with a sad face crying.
Leave a little note,
Please bring my
please.
ring. Oh my gosh, I swear I just saw something on my counter. You are freaking me out now. Oh my gosh. I
Did you
swear
see it
I
out of
just
your
saw one.
peripheral or what? Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
And when I turned, it
I
like,
just
oh
got
my gosh, I'm about to
goosebumps.
throw up. No,
Ooh.
I'm shocked. That was shocking. I'm sorry. Wow.
Please,
Okay,
little
you're freaking me
people,
out.
please bring back her ring. It's not very
Oh my
expensive, but it means a lot
God.
to her. So please, please,
Great.
please bring it back. If it comes
Yes,
back by
I'll do
tomorrow,
that.
you got to
Thank
message
you.
me and let me know.
I will. Maybe you have. That freaked me out. Yeah, isn't that weird? And you know what? I want to mention, you just said a really important thing. So we think when we see things out of our peripheral, like it's not real. It always is. Like if you think
Oh,
you see
yeah.
like your grandma or a man or like it's always real. Like you need to start like giving yourself credit, not just like throwing it off to your imagination, you know?
I know, and it kind of freaks me out because staying here at my mom's house, my mom has always been okay, she's my adopted mom. My real mom died. My aunt who
Right,
took me
right.
in
I
when I
figured she
was
was. Yeah.
6, almost 7, she just adopted me a few years ago because I asked her to, and that's the path we
Oh, I
should
love
have followed.
that.
Me too. Like I was so grateful because I was about 12 or 13. My dad came back, said, "Hey, guess what? I got married," and I was so pissed off about that. And then he's
Of
like, "Hey, you
course.
want to come back and live with me?" And I'm like, "Of course I do. You're my dad. I love you. Like, I want to live with you." And it made me feel really bad because my Aunt Sandy always took the best care of me and stuff. And I felt like I was betraying her. But what kid doesn't want to be with
Oh,
their parent?
of course.
So I went back with him, which was not the best decision, but it's what I
Oh,
needed to do. And so a few years back, I was like, "Hey, would you still consider adopting me?" And she's like, "Of course I would. Like, you're my daughter. You've always been my daughter." So
that's so sweet.
I
Aw.
know. I'm trying not to get verklempt. But it meant a lot to me. But yeah, I've been seeing things in her house. And I don't say anything to her
Really?
because she really freaks out about it. But I've been seeing people walk through her house. And
Wow.
I just keep it to myself because I don't want to freak her out. But I think it might be her dad or even my Uncle Bill, which is my sister Amanda's dad. But yeah, I'm like, I keep seeing people walk through and I'm like, what the hell? And I'm looking. Nobody asks, hey, what are you looking at? What are you seeing? They just keep doing their own thing. So I just keep it to myself.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
sometimes I'll walk in my laundry room. It's really startling. There'll be like someone standing like right between me and the washer and dryer, and I'm like, oh, okay. You know, it's so crazy.
so you're
Uh,
saying I don't have to do my laundry right now. Okay, no, I'm just kidding.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah, I can leave. We can come back another time. I don't know. That stuff just doesn't. I don't know. It's so familiar to me. Like, I don't get spooked. The only time I get spooked is when I wake up out of a dead sleep, and a couple times there's been a dark hooded figure. And the only reason I'm scared is because I feel like if it's a real person, like you have to shoot them or call 911. You know what I mean? Like my mind can't like figure out like, what is this? You know, like when you're waking up out of
yeah.
sleep. So I don't like that. That's the only time I get scared.
But like you were saying to the audience, like just because it's out of your peripheral or whatnot does not mean it's not real. Like you're actually seeing this, and a lot of sightings are out of the peripheral because they're trying to be
That's
sneaky
right.
deaky or whatnot, and they're trying to be quick and do whatever. But you still see it if you are
Yeah, they're trying to
present.
move without you seeing them, but
Yeah,
you can still catch that movement. And Sasquatch will do that a lot. Dogmen will do that a lot. Almost all of them. The ghosts don't move like that, though. I don't usually see ghosts out of my peripheral. I know some people do, but I usually see them straight on. I don't know why.
yeah, and the ones that I've been seeing, we actually sit out on the back porch so we can smoke, weed or cigarettes, or I vape now,
Right.
so I'm vaping and occasionally hitting my pipe. I don't smoke like I used to, but my family does. But yeah, it's like not peripheral, it's like straight on through the sliding glass door. I see somebody walking around in the
Wow.
house, and I'm like, who the fuck did I just see?
Wow. That's
You know,
cool.
so it's not peripheral, but like you said, a lot of sightings that people have are peripheral because I think they're the people or spirits or whatnot are trying to not be so relevant. They're trying to be, you know, in your side vision or whatever where they think you're not going to see them if you're looking
Yeah, or
straight
they're
on,
trying to
but you still
avoid
see
being.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They're trying to avoid being seen. They're not trying to be seen.
And with Bigfoot, okay, so people are like, okay, well, how come these Bigfoot pictures are all blurry and how come they're not this and how come they're not that? Well, I think there's ghosts of every genre. So I think dinosaurs, Bigfoot,
Oh
anything you
yeah, I
could
agree.
think of, there could be ghosts. So maybe that picture is really blurry because that could have been a ghost or a spirit of a
They
Bigfoot.
also manipulate. They manipulate the dimensions. They okay, so I can have a clear shot, like clear, of an in the
Mm-hmm.
fur one, and it will start to blur. Like my video camera, like you can zoom in and zoom out, and they will like screw with that zoom. They will blur. Like they can control frequency. They seem to be able to control like our technology so that we can't. So that's one reason why I know it's real. Like if I'm like, oh, I know now. Like if all of a sudden it's clear and then your camera gets all funky, kind of like your radio show, you
Right?
know it's
And it's so
real.
clear and
So you
crisp,
know
and
I'm
there's been no
real.
breaking up now. It's so weird.
Oh, it's
Everything's
yeah, that
clear
is
and
kind of
crisp
funny.
now.
We were
Yeah.
having probably direct interference of some kind. But no, people say that all the time, but it's also not okay. So there's a difference in someone who can see through the dimensions. What you guys, not you guys, but what a lot of people say on I'm belong to a lot of groups and a lot of people say, oh, that's blurry, but I'm looking at it and I'm like, no, that's perfectly clear. So
Yeah.
sight is different too. Perspective and perception is different. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not the same. Like 10 people can look at that picture and one's like, oh, that's a Bigfoot. And one's like, I don't see anything. And one's like, that's a blurry mess. So it's perception too.
My sister, Amanda, who I'm at her house right now, just recently said, oh, you know that Bigfoot video where so and blah, blah, blah were there? And one of these people was one of my, like, really major guests. He's a really major person as far as Bigfoot goes. And he was a part of that. And she's like, yeah, that was just somebody wearing a costume, blah, blah, blah. What sort of person could make that actual costume back in that time frame, like 1974 or whenever the fuck that happened? I'm just like, seriously? You think that was a costume? Yeah, so and so said it was. I don't care what so and so says. Like, looking at that and looking at what a costume looks like, so on and so forth, and
Right.
their ability to make costumes at that point, yes, was pretty good, but no, I don't think it was that good. Like, that was an actual, wasn't it a female Bigfoot? And she's walking and she turns and looks and
Mhm.
then looks forward again and keeps walking at a brisk
Mhm.
rate of speed. And she's
Mhm.
like, yeah, they
Mhm.
totally proved that that was a costume. And I'm like, what? I don't know where she's getting this because for me, watching that, I feel like that was real. And you were talking about the whole astral thing and how they can like be at one place and then at another place or so on and so forth because there's just like one footprint or whatnot. Um,
Right.
but we had a security gig up in Rico, Colorado. And
Uh-huh.
then the next year later, we went to the Enterprise Bar and Grill. We did a paranormal investigation there. Really hot, really cool, really good investigation. And they're like, what do you want to do tomorrow? I'm like, I want to go back up to the job site and see if I can find any evidence of this Bigfoot that was tossing boulders down the side of the mountain trying to get rid of us. And so we
Oh wow.
we we did the trespass dance. We danced the trespass dance so we wouldn't get caught trespassing. We trespassed. And then Mia and Richard are looking for rocks and I'm looking for Bigfoot prints. And I found them and it wasn't in
Oh my gosh.
mud or anything like that, but it was like broken up rocks and stuff. You could see the imprints, and it wasn't just one, it
Oh
was like
wow.
three or four. And had I had a plaster cast kit at that point, I could have gotten some really, really good Bigfoot tracks, but I didn't have it. So I took pictures. I marked the toe and the heel with rocks. I put my foot beside it. I did everything I could in my power to say, this is how
Right.
big it
Right.
was, this is how deep it was, blah, blah, blah. This is the toe, this is the heel, so on and so forth. I know for a fact those were Bigfoot tracks because ain't nobody else gonna be walking out there with no shoes on. You know what I mean? But
That's
yeah,
true.
it was intriguing. And then we go back down to the Enterprise Bar and Grill, and I'm like, guess what, you guys? I just got some really epic pictures of some Bigfoot tracks. Me and Richard got some really cool rocks from the mine. But yeah, check these out. And then the bar owner was like, hey, you need to talk to this lady over here and her daughter, because they go out every morning on their back porch, drink
Oh, wow.
coffee, they talk about the day to come, so on and so forth. And they saw an albino Bigfoot walking
Oh,
in
wow.
between a grove of aspen trees. And so then
Oh,
they
wow.
told me their story, and I'm just like, totally makes sense. Like, there's Bigfoot, and then there's this, I think maybe an elder of the Bigfoot realm, and he's kind of outcast because he's older. He's not in the prime to be mating with Bigfoot, whatever. So he goes on the other side of the valley, and all the other ones stay on this side. So it kind of makes sense to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just grasping for straws, but it was pretty cool.
No, that is. Wow. That's really cool. It is. Huh. That's interesting. I've seen white ones too. They're not super common though.
Yeah, I think they might be the older, like geriatric ones. I don't know.
Which could be why. I don't know. Maybe there's not as many. I'm not sure. But that's interesting. Oh, that's cool. Do you guys get a lot of evidence on your investigations? Like, do you get a lot of like EVPs or, photographic evidence? What kind of stuff do you guys get?
Well, since COVID happened, we've been pretty cut and dry and not really done anything because a couple of the members of our team work in the medical field, got COVID,
Oh,
and they're like,
okay.
I'm not willing to put
Mm,
myself out there again. So
yeah.
it's me and
Yeah.
my friend Mia, and she's the medium of our team, which I pick up on a lot of the stuff that she does. But I'm like, hey, you want to go with me on this? Because nobody else will. And she's always willing to go. But yeah, we've got different sightings, different reports, different things going on. My most favorite case was at the Durango Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad Museum in Durango, Colorado.
Mm,
And
okay.
there's several ghosts there. There's a man and woman that sit in the same seats waiting for the train to come. I don't know where they're trying to go.
Oh
And
my
then,
gosh.
yeah, and then there's the guy called Legs who was on the train and he, I guess, fell off or jumped off or something and got ran over about 4 blocks away from the museum. And so when that happened, he tried to pull himself by his arms back to the museum and he ended up bleeding to death. So they call him
Oh.
Legs because his upper portion of his body will be walking around and then the lower portion will be as well. So they're kind of trying to find each other. It's kind of weird.
That's creepy. Wow.
And then
Oh my
the
gosh.
biggest one we got was Kate Johnson. They used to call her Emmy, which there is a ghost there. Emmy, she's a little girl. I will definitely
Oh.
send this to you right now, but Emmy's a little girl. We tried to figure out what her story was after Kate Johnson left, but the Joker, aka the Brakeman, kept interrupting and
Yeah.
being really rude and not allowing us to communicate with her, so we never
Oh
got her story.
no.
But Kate Johnson came through
Oh.
and she's like, Kate Johnson, Walter, which is the brakeman, Walter intentioned death, sharp tool, so on and so forth. Like, she gave us all these words through an
Whoa.
app. And we came back, we found it, and I'm like, oh my God, can you believe this? Like, she basically told the whole story of what happened. So what happened was
Wow.
she was a soiled dove, aka a prostitute. She was from Alamosa, Colorado. She met this firefighter that worked on the railroad, and he took her to elope. They were going to elope, go somewhere else, and get married. And while they were eloping, the brakeman came through the car that they were in, found them together, got really pissed off because he had been with her too, and he really had feelings for her. So
Oh,
a
okay.
fight ensued, and Walter the brakeman ended up stabbing the firefighter to death with a knife.
Oh,
And
oh my.
yeah, and he ended up succumbing to his injuries, and then Walter got thrown off the train. The only thing that happened to him was his collarbone got broken. Boo hoo. But yeah, I don't think he ever faced any charges or anything. But Kate later on, her madam took really good care of her, sent her to California for her to pick up on her life again and carry on, but she couldn't because she just felt guilty. Like, had she not been there, that would not have happened to her fiance, and so she ended up taking her own life. Guess where her purgatory was? It was right there on that train car. And then
Ooh.
the cool thing that happened was this Catholic school class came on, and the museum curator, Jeff, said, I was not going to tell them the whole story, but once they came in, I just had this overwhelming feeling that I had to tell them the whole story. So he did. And then he told them the story. As he's going off the train car, he could feel the car moving as if everybody was walking behind him. So he goes out, goes down the stairs, turns around, nobody's coming out, and then he hears them saying this prayer. And he grew up Catholic as well. And he said,
Uh-huh.
it was the most beautiful prayer I had ever heard. I had
Aww.
never heard it before in my life. And I asked them when they came off, I never heard that prayer before in my life. What was that prayer you said? And they said it was a prayer of release from purgatory. A lot of old Catholics will tell
Aww.
you that this prayer does not exist, but I think it is a new thing, just like exorcism prayers are translated for
Okay.
anybody who wants to do
Okay.
it, can do it now.
Yeah.
These guys are taught something new. This is a prayer of release from purgatory, and they were able to release her. She was gone for at least a month or
Mhm.
3 months, and then she came back because I think due to free will, she wanted to come back and help Emmy because the brakeman was just bullying her and not letting us find her story. So she's trying to help, and she's awesome. I will have to send
Aww.
you the picture of them. I have a picture of them. I have a picture of
Wow.
Walter. Yeah, it's crazy.
Cool. Super cool. That's interesting. Wow, that's complicated. Oh.
Very intriguing for sure. Okay, so
Mm.
we have about, I think, an hour left now. What else would you like to talk about? Hold on, let me see where we're at. I think we have a second music break here in a few minutes. So, really quick, what would you like to talk about this next hour coming up?
Oh gosh. Just I mean, I don't know. Does your audience can your audience ask questions? Can we have an interaction with them? I'm happy to answer questions or chat about
Yeah,
whatever
I know
they'd
we
like
had
to know
some
about.
questions earlier. I know that Champ was asking, what was your scariest interaction ever? That was one of
Oh,
his.
I've got a good one. Yeah, I've got some good scary interactions. How long do we have before
Go
break?
ahead, and once you're done with the story, then we'll go to break, and then we'll come back.
Okay. So the one I this is like the one of the scariest things that ever happened to me. So my friend and I was 20. We were driving to O'Hare Airport, which we'd done many times before, to pick up her brother, who was flying in. And we're cruising along the highway, and she gets this really weird look on her face, and I kind of ignored her. And I'm just like, whatever, why are you looking weird? And we drive a little longer, and I'm like, why are we going so fast? Like, are you trying to get pulled over? Because everybody knows there's cops everywhere in Chicago, and they pull you over all the time. And she's like, no. And I'm like, why are you saying no like that? And she's like, watch this. And she took her foot off the pedal, the gas pedal,
Uh huh.
and it went down by itself.
Oh my gosh.
It was, wait, I have much more to this story. Okay. So, and I'm like, no, I didn't just see that. And she's like, really? Let's pull over. You can drive. We'll see if it happens to you. I'm like, you're making it do that. And she's like, no, I wasn't. I'm like, okay, let me drive. So we switched drivers and I get in. Yeah, it was doing that. We could not control the car. We could stop the car, like it wasn't doing anything with the brake, but like the gas, we had no control over. It was like going really slow, going really fast, like out from under our feet. So we're like, okay, there's something wrong with the car. We're so stupid. We're so stupid. We're like, there's something wrong with the car. And so we're going to pull off. So we're like, we're going to pull
You're gonna
off
say
the
like,
next
what the
exit.
hell is happening right now?
Exactly. So we're like, there's something wrong with the car. We're going to like stop off the road. Like we didn't want to stop on the side of the highway. We're two young girls. We were being semi-smart. So we're like, we're going to pull off at the exit. And it was nighttime. So we pull off at this exit. The first thing I noticed when we pull off this exit is the only thing at this exit was to the left, there was this old, rickety, like wood, gray, old-fashioned gas station with like circle pumps, and it was closed, but that was there. And then there was just a pull-off on the other side with like trees around it, but there was like dirt or gravel or
Oh my
whatever. So we were
gosh.
across from this gas station, pulled over. So, and this is very common with the paranormal, and also with abductions. So I'm looking out the windows, and we're just sitting there. We're kind of like trying to think what to do because it's kind of creepy. Neither one of us really wanted to like get out and open like the engine or anything. But what do we know? There's nobody around, like no cars, no
We're just
people,
gonna stay in the cab
no
of the car
houses.
and be safe.
Yeah, so we're just kind of sitting there staring at each other. And then all of a sudden, like there hadn't been any rain, anything, like this wind noise started. And then like scratching branches, it sounded like scratching branches, but it wasn't because there was no branches around the car. But it was like scratching going round and round the car. And then I looked out the window and all the trees were like blowing over. It was the craziest thing. And but it wasn't raining or thundering or lightning, just like wind and scratching noises. And then I turned to, she had gotten back in the driver's somehow. I think we switched again because she was sitting in the driver's side to my left. And looked back over her, and she's like, her head is thrown back, her eyes are rolled back in her head, and there's like this energy, like Ghostbusters, like going down her throat.
That is so
And I am
fucking
like,
creepy.
this is like super crazy. No one believes this story, but it is 100% true. And
Oh
I
my
was still a
gosh.
Christian at the time, going to a Christian college. And so I like, just like, you know, in the name of Jesus, blah, 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 you know, did like whatever, you know, you thought you should do. Like, I didn't know what I was doing, just mumbled a bunch of stuff and Bible verses and I don't know. And finally, like, everything just stopped, like dead stop. Like, she like kind of fell over in the seat. And I'm like, what, from your perspective, basically, I was asking her what happened when she could talk. And she's like, something was trying to get inside me. Something was trying to get inside me. We got to get out of here. Like,
Oh
I
my
can't drive. I can't drive. She
god.
switched again. We switched again. She could barely walk. Like, she like fell on the seat, and we didn't even know where we were. So we didn't like turn around and like try to get back on the highway. We like we started driving down the road, and we were like singing hymns. Don't ask me why. And we all of a sudden, in the middle of these like fields, there's a stop sign, and it was, I don't know, it was just habit. So I stopped at the stop sign, and then the trunk opened up and closed by itself, which made me look in the rearview mirror,
What the
and there was a
hell?
man sitting in the back seat. So I just put
Oh
the
my
pedal to the
god.
metal and just drove down this road, and we finally hit like a real exit with like fast food, like, you know what I mean, like McDonald's, Hardee's, like real gas stations. And we like went in, and because we're like, oh my gosh, we're going to be so late. And we went in, and we got ready to call. Of course, we didn't have cell phones, but on the payphone, we got ready to call her brother, and we looked at our watches. It was the exact same time we got off the highway.
What the hell? You had missing time and everything. That is so fucking
I think it
weird.
was, I don't know what it was, because I don't think it was a real exit, you guys. I think it was like out of time, out of space. I think it was like an abduction with cover memories or something. I don't know what it was. I honestly, to this day, do not know what that was.
That is so
But
freaking
it's almost like
scary.
something lured us off the highway to do something to us, not
Yeah.
just to her. Like
They're
probably
like,
both
slow
of us.
down a little bit. Come over here where you feel you're safe. Okay, now I'm gonna take you.
Yeah, it was just, that is the scariest. I had another similar incident just a couple years ago, close to that, but that was still the scariest.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So do you feel like during any of these abductions you have babies out there, like little hybrid babies?
Well, the technology that I use says I do. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my
And I've woken
gosh.
up. I had a tubal pregnancy, and I've woken up with blood and no baby, and really weird stuff has happened to me with that. So it's,
Like you just had the
and that's
blood, nothing else came out, so you're like,
yeah,
where's the baby?
yeah.
Yeah,
Weird, just
'cause there
weirdness.
should be, like Howard Stern or whatever, they call him lumpy or chunky or whoever. Like there's generally something there besides blood, and you just have blood, so you're just like, where is the rest of it?
It's
Your
almost
body
like they
doesn't
just like
absorb all of
took it.
that.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my
It's like they took
gosh.
something. Yeah, so I've had that too. Yeah.
I'm sorry, sister. That's so scary and
It's a,
sad at the same time.
it is. But we're finding a lot of women and men are I mean, we think they're being taken as, and we're being used as, breeders and sperm donors, and they're using DNA. And I don't know who all the they is. I mean, we're tracing some of it back to our own military. It's not all. like aliens on whatever planet. I mean, maybe some of it is, but we're tracing a lot to like the bases and the military, like actual abduction. Really
And I know
crazy.
my sister Nikki, who she used to be a big part of this show, and she's kind of had to do her own thing, which I totally understand. Like we all need our own time and space to
Sure.
work through things, and she's talked about her babies that were taken from her, and I don't
Oh my
remember the
God.
number of babies, but she has actually met them on certain occasions. So I'm wondering if that's
Oh
gonna happen
wow.
to you too. Could you imagine? Like I would not want to leave my baby, but maybe there's a certain agreement or something that they do where you kind of understand and are able to kind of let go for a little bit because you'll see them again someday. But oh my goodness, like just having something a part of you, like it's hard to disconnect from that, really. That's another
I don't know
traumatic
why with
experience.
technology though. Why do they have to use us? It doesn't make sense to me because they can grow. I mean, I have family in human cloning, so I know they can grow clones in labs because my family does it.
But I wonder about like
So
the whole space-time continuum thing and the
that's true.
anti-gravity, so on and so forth. Like I think for them, they've been in space for so long that they're, as far as being able to procreate, they're unable to do that. So now they're doing this, like genetically
Oh,
modified sort
maybe
of,
I didn't think of that.
yeah,
Yeah, I didn't
tubal
think of
tubal
that.
baby process. I don't know. It's really weird and
I think
outlandish.
it's
But
really weird too. I
yeah, if
do.
you're
I think it's really weird.
Yeah, if you're unable to do it, like you would allow a human woman on Earth where there is gravity to grow this baby to a certain extent, and then you take it and put it in your little
Oh, I see what you're
tubal thing
saying.
or
Yeah,
whatnot. I have
sad
not
though.
personally experienced that, but I've heard stories, so I'm not saying it's true, but it does kind of make sense.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought of it like that. I just thought with the technology, but it does make sense depending who it is and why and what they're doing. I guess they could have different motivation or reasons, like you said.
Right.
That's interesting.
I know. I wish they had souls or some sort of like, feelings for us to where they wouldn't do that. But on that note, sister, we do have to go to our second music break. And this break, for you guys who don't like the music and want to tune back in after the music is over, this break is 14 minutes and 46 seconds long. And we have Mr. Brick Casey again with Main Thing. We also have Mystique with Rampage, as well as Time for School. And then we have Miss Mocha T with My Life. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this musical break.
I like it when you pop it, drop it, swing. Now don't stop it, doing that thing. Go, go, girl, keep doing that thing. I just wanna make you my main thing. Keep going, baby, now don't you stop that. Vanilla chocolate flavored, you're the only one that I'm searching for. You the one for me and I can't complain. You sunshine anytime it rain. Not around then I might go insane. I just wanna make you my main thing. I like it when you pop that, drop that. Keep going, baby, now don't you stop that. Honey, you so sweet, I can't ignore. Thinking about you both more and more. Making it pop and drop and swing. I could be the king and you my queen. Yeah, you look good, but you I'm saying. I just wanna make you my main thing. I like it when you pop that, drop that. Keep going, baby, now don't you stop that. Who's them dudes in the back with the black on? Crew deep, don't sleep or slack on. Come to the money, honey, I'ma get a stack on. Excuse me, ma, can I get my Mac on? To the left, throw it to the right. Do it like you wanna do it to me all night. From the block, kid know how to act hard. Like brick house, women with a fat backyard. In the club with me and my man's killing that. In the back door with me and my man chilling that. I'm on the floor, I'm like, damn, she killing that. It's going down, no cop around, feeling that. I'm fly, I'm a guy that'll get him. Play a like me, need two of you with him. Call you a lollipop and I wanna lick you. Number one, my top choice of pick. Yo, give it to me, mom. Go, go, girl. Nah, don't stop. Oh, no, girl. Break it down for me, hit it, get it gone. Can you keep it going? On and on and on. Now give it to me, mom. Go, go, girl. Nah, don't stop. Oh, no, girl. Hey, break it down for me, hit it, get it gone. Cause you got it going on and on and on. Can't deny, boo, that you too fly. Anytime that I look you in the eye, a phenomenon that I can't explain. Like the things you're doing to my brain. You the only one to take away my pain. I just wanna make you my main thing. I like it when you pop that, drop that. Keep going, baby, now don't you stop that. Can't stop thinking about how you move and all the things in the I'ma do to you. True, this might be a little bit strange. Don't care if I don't even know your name. That's why I wanna tell you this simple and plain. I just wanna make you my main thing. I like it when you pop that, drop that, keep going, baby. Now don't you stop that. Who's them chicks all thick with the pumps on? Lumps in the front, back with the bumps on. Not a cat hoping that he get his humps on. I'm way beyond with them other chumps on. Sweet enough to eat and he might bite you. Wanna make love to you, I don't wanna fight you. Nobody like you, not a one like you. When you come around, no telling what he might do. Right now in the club, who the dawn? Want a man that got it going on later on. I could tell by the dancing, you digging this song. You can tell I've been digging you all night long. And I love to be digging in you all night long. Party right here, hottie all night long. Let's flex it to the coat check, exit to the Lexus, Nexus, triple exit. Come on, give it to me, ma. Go, go, girl. Now don't stop. Oh, no, girl. Break it down for me, get it gone. Can you keep it going? On and on and on. Now give it to me, ma. Go, go, girl. Now don't stop. Oh, no, girl. Hey, break it down for me, get it gone. Cause you got it going on and on and on. I like it when you pop it, drop it, swing. Now don't stop it, doing that thing. Go, go, girl, keep doing that thing. I just wanna make you my main thing. You pop it, drop it, swing. Now don't stop it, doing that thing. Go, go, girl, keep doing that thing. I just wanna make you my main thing. Vanilla chocolate flavor, you're the only one that I'm searching for. You the one for me and I can't complain. You sunshine anytime it rain. Not around then I might go insane. I just wanna make you my main thing. I like it when you pop that, drop that, keep going, baby. Now don't you stop that. Honey, you so sweet, I can't ignore. Thinking about you both more and more. Making it pop and drop and swing. I could be the king and you my queen. Yeah, they look good, but you I'm saying. I just wanna make you my main thing. I like it when you pop that, drop that, keep going, baby. Now don't you stop that. Cannot believe that you too fly. Anytime that I look you in the eye, a phenomenon that I can't explain. Like the things you're doing to my brain. You the only one to take away my pain. I just wanna make you my main thing. I like it when you pop that, drop that, keep going, baby. Now don't you stop that. Can't stop thinking about how you move and all the things that I'ma do to you. True, this might be a little bit strange. Don't care if I don't even know your name. That's why I wanna tell you this simple and plain. I just wanna make you my main thing. I like it when you pop that, drop that, keep going, baby. Now don't you stop that.
Spark so much fire, think I woke up the dragons. I'm the new beast, spitting apocalypse for a fantastic. Got the power from God, made the rest hard to breathe. I'm on the surface, flow so powerful, industry don't fit me. Spark so much fire, think I woke up the dragons. I'm a new beast, spitting apocalypse for a fantastic. Got the power from God, made the rest hard to breathe. I'm on the surface, flow so powerful, industry don't fit me. You people fire well, I'm the kind that made you inspire.
I'm connected with, no lag. She a spin 30 for a bag. That's my wife, and I'm glad. Michael Myers with his stabs. Ali with his jazz. A scientist in the lab. JJ Watt in his past. The amigos with the dab. This is why I ride. And I got the nag. Spazzy rolled a sack with Mystique in the back. Money tall like Shaq. Weapons like Iraq. I am cancer in a pack. The 9/11 attack. We don't know no slag. You can't hold us back. Rock and roll with that.
So much fire, think I woke up the dragons. I'm the new beast, spitting apocalypse for a fantastic. Got the power from God, made the rest hard to breathe. I'm on the surface, flow so powerful, industry don't fit me. Spark so much fire, think I woke up the dragons. I'm a new beast, spitting apocalypse for a fantastic. Got the power from God, made the rest hard to breathe. I'm on the surface, flow so powerful, industry don't fit me.
Life, the quality or state of being alive, a living organism, and I am. Mocha tea, let's get it. My life, the sugar, honey, iced tea. They wonder why I smile so gracefully, and wonder why I like blue when I'm lactose. 10 toes, 10 fingers, nigga, 10 hoes. Flow dope, whip it, microwave and stove was broke. Broke days, broke weeks, even broke months. A rich Joan will have them going crazy. Lettuce and mac and cheese got them going crazy. Irregular and normal and unusual. So unusual, I got shot for being beautiful. You can tell me love, you so gorgeous, but yet got a gun pointing to my forehead. Yo, head break bread, yeah, we gon' feast. Remember the cold nights we had nothing to eat. Southern Belle raising hell area near you. I'm hungry and leaving no proof. My life, my life, my life. It ain't always sunshine in my life. A big puzzle, I'm trying to figure peace ain't right. They thought I wasn't gonna make it, I know they didn't. It's visual, check your vision if you got the issue. A news feed if you got the memo. Breaking news, a new wave coming. Fuck a wave, hurricane, so mocha-licious. I really do this, it's in my blood. Pass it to my kids when I have some. And that's hip-hop.
your accomplishments. Move away from the negativity, it got you bent. And if you getting in the midst, just take the time and repent. Stay focused, get a pencil, write about the lesson. Raise your righteous hand, find the answer to questions. Could be your main plan, leave a saucy impression. You are your own fan, you got this, is what I recommend. Do you believe? Do you believe? Are you ready? Are you ready? It's time for school. Roll out your red carpet. You gotta love to learn and have fun. It's time for school.
Do you believe? Are you ready? It's time for school. Roll out your red carpet. You got to love to learn and have fun. It's time for school. Back then, I loved school. I was cool. I was putting in my dues. I ain't wanna be no fool. Mama had it poppin'. School supplies and shopping. Success was an option. Math had me locked in, but English was my topic. Lunchtime, I had it rocking. Lunch tables was knocking, and we wasn't stopping. In gym, I was good from the 3. Like Stockton, music class, I had everyone stuck. They was watching. We wore your bow straps with retros and the watches. Love life, humble yourself. That's my creed. Think with your mind and heart, you will achieve. Pray on it, give it to God, and proceed. Your goals, ambition, and God is all you need. Imagination and will is something we can't teach. Remember Dr. King, he had a whole dream. You can do whatever you want. I believe.
Do you believe? Do you believe? Are you ready? Are you ready? It's time for school. Roll out your red carpet. You gotta love to learn and have fun. It's time for school.
Do you believe? Are you ready? It's time for school. Roll out your red carpet. You got to love to learn and have fun. It's time for school.
Do you believe? Are you ready? It's time for school. Roll out your red carpet. Yeah, you gotta learn to love to have fun. It's time for school. Roll out your red carpet. Yeah.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. I'm so happy that once we restarted, which I really hated that we had to do that, but there has been no sort of malfunctions as far as audio. Everything is crisp and clear, and you can hear everything perfectly. Tonight we are joined by Dr. Kimberly McGeorge. Thank you so much again, Kimberly, for coming back and hanging out with us and sharing your experiences and stories. It's been awesome.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I'm so sorry we had to disconnect and reboot. I really hated doing that, but it's worked out for the best, I think.
Yeah, oh good.
All right, so we were talking about things on break. Where should we go, this way or that? Okay, so UFOs, and you were talking about having missing time and being abducted, so on and so forth. Like, where exactly would you like to start on this chapter of our conversation?
I'll start with a story of mine, then you can jump in and share your experiences if you don't mind. But the
Okay, no
most
worries.
recent daytime-ish, I mean, it started at 5 o'clock experience that I had that I know was an abduction was a friend of mine and I decided to go by ourselves to go, which is kind of dumb, to go explore this like extremely haunted old law school near me. And so we set out, and it got darker as we drove. And she grew up in this area, so she knew every road. This becomes important. She knew absolutely every road. She knew every turn. She knew exactly how to get. So we start driving down this road, and I start feeling like sick to my stomach, which is usually how I feel when something really bad's going to happen or there's demonic activity. And I'm like, you know what? I don't feel comfortable. I'm up to get kidnapped, get yanked into a tunnel. which is ironic that I said that. I'm like, let's turn around and go back. So we turn around and we start driving back, and I don't know this area at all. So I'm trusting her, and she's like, turn right, turn left, turn right, turn left. And all of a sudden we start driving down this road, and the only thing on this road is pine trees. So like we're driving and driving. There's like no houses, just pine trees, pine trees, pine trees, pine trees. So finally, after a long time, she just tells me, she's like, I don't know where we are. And I'm like, how can you not know where we are? Like, we grew up here. She's like, there's no roads. There's no roads. I don't recognize anything. So finally, after a while, we found a road and we got home. So we're like, what the heck happened? And we were both freaking out. We're like, we didn't know what's happening. We're like, we're not stopping. We're just going to drive and drive and drive because it just felt really vulnerable. Like if we stopped, and what happened last time I stopped years ago. Yeah. And so we get home, and like that app, Life 360, which shows you where you go. When we looked at Life 360, we were going through fields. Like where it showed we were going was not on this like one road. It showed us going over houses, over fields, no roads. We were up in the air.
Oh my gosh.
And we have proof on Life 360. That's the only place we could be, up in the air, because it showed us going around in this big square circle, but we had to be up in the air the whole time, and that was like cover memory driving.
And did you have like missing time during this time, or?
Yeah, I had missing time, and I was like we were both shaking, like something traumatic had happened, even though like nothing. I mean, that's not that traumatic. Like getting lost, quote lost, isn't that traumatic. Like we were all in like like if you like have an accident or something, like how you feel, like that's how we felt. Like something violating and traumatic had happened. Yeah, that was only that was like 4 or 5 years ago. That was my
But
latest.
yeah, if you're like driving along and all of a sudden you're lifted up in the air or something is manipulating you, I could see how you would be freaked out. Like even if something was there just watching you, I think that you would feel it. The hairs might raise up on the back of your neck or on your arms or somewhere. Like you feel like something is watching you. You have that predatory sort of instinct.
Yeah, they call them, there's a term for it in the UFO community and the consciousness community. They call it FUGE, F-U-G-E incidents. And usually they think they're abductions. They don't know. It's like weird. It's like out of time, out of space, wormhole weirdness,
So what does FUGE stand for?
I have no idea. That's just what I've been told by like people that have experienced way more than me. I don't know if it's like, I don't know what that means. I should look that up. I don't know what that really means.
Future, futile, whatever, unidentified. Flying.
Maybe that's what.
What the heck? Oh my gosh, that is so weird.
Yeah, so that's my latest. I mean, that's what I call like even though it's nighttime, it's like daytime. Like when you're asleep, you don't know what's happening. That's a different kind of like experience, I think, than when you're awake.
Well, yeah, for sure. That's why I tell my husband, okay, don't tell me stuff that I need to remember when you wake me up and I'm still kind of sleeping, because I won't remember. I'll be like getting up, asking my kids, hey, where'd your dad go? Where's your dad at? And they're like, oh, he went here, here, there, and there. And I'll be like, maybe I'll go back and remember when he woke me up to kiss me goodbye and say things to me. Right. But generally, I'm like, don't wake me up and tell me stuff because I won't remember. It's not that I don't want to, but I don't know. Weird. But I'm so glad that when you had that experience, you had somebody else with you to back it up. So did she have the same thing going on?
Yeah. No, we experienced exactly the same thing.
Nice.
And yeah, but you know what's weird? After that night, we never talked again. It like
it's your fault. I don't know. That's what I don't get. Okay, so how come people have experiences and then they're like, I'll never talk to this person again? It's not that it's your fault. You didn't do anything to cause it. But maybe they're afraid if they interact with you again, it'll happen again. I don't know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think so. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we never ever talked again. I think it's the weirdest thing.
Sorry. Oh my gosh, I wish I lived closer to you. So I went through boot camp in South
Carolina.
Carolina. I went through combat training in North Carolina. Like, if I was still there in that sector, I would definitely come and hang
Oh,
out
that'd
with
be
you
cool.
because it's
Yeah,
really
that'd be
not your
awesome.
fault, you know? It's not your fault at all. This shit just
Not my
happens
fault
anyways.
things happen. It's not my fault your radio's so
No.
tanked.
No, it's not. And when you apologize, I'm like, please don't apologize. Like this shit happens sometimes, especially when I have Chris Garcia on. We call it the Garcia effect.
Oh, that's
Um,
funny. Really? Oh, that's funny.
yeah.
Okay.
We call it the Garcia effect because the energies are like so high and so weird. Like shit gets glitchy and it's just really strange. But then like with us, my microphone actually got cut off. So you were kind of talking to yourself for a little bit, but yeah, that was so weird. I'm so sorry, sister. Like I didn't mean for
Oh,
that
that's
to
kind of
happen to
funny.
us, but so weird
That's funny.
because the internet technology here is like tenfold what I have back at home. So
Right.
like everything should be perfect. Ever since we restarted and started again, it's been perfect. No glitches, no nothing. I can hear you
That's,
perfectly.
yeah, that's
It's
awesome.
so fucking weird. I don't get it, but okay. Here we are.
We'll go
And
with
I'm so
it.
grateful you're here. And we don't have to like rebook or something because had I not been able to restart, that would be obscene.
Yeah, it's
So,
cool. It's all good.
so you've had missing time. Do you think that you have children that have been spawned by aliens, or what are your thoughts on this whole process of missing time and sighting, so on and so forth?
I don't know. I think, some people don't think this is a prison planet. I think it is a prison planet. I think we're used for energy. I think we're used for reading. I think we're used for our psychic abilities. I think we're used for a lot of things. So I definitely think, I mean,
Yeah, I
I
have
don't
to
know. I
agree
believe
with you on that.
that.
Like the pyramids, I think those were totally like supply lines for the UFOs. Come here,
I
power
agree.
up again, blah, blah, blah. They actually had
Yep.
natural lighting from Baghdad batteries, so on and so forth. Like there was so much technology going on, and I think we have started and restarted so many times as human
I
beings
do too. I
because I
agree
think
with
we've
you.
gotten to a certain extent and they're like, honey boo boo, this ain't gonna work. We're gonna have to wipe you out, start all over
You guys
again.
are
Like,
getting too
seriously?
smart. You're waking up too much. So then they make us
Yeah,
dumb again.
I know. It's so sad and scary at the same time. It's like, let us go, let us do this. But we are, as humans, I'm not, and I don't feel like you are, but a lot of us that are human and we're driven are driven towards war. War. We have to rule everything. We have to have this. We have to have that. So there's killing. There's so many things going on. There's nuclear bombs. There's all this
Yeah.
freaking
Ugh.
obscenities as far as Earth goes. You should not be doing this stuff, but they're doing it. We're just basically not us as a whole, but us as the higher beings, as far as our higher beings, which we don't really vote for. Like they're already there, but um, they're doing their own thing and they're resetting us. I think pretty
Yep.
soon we're
I
going to be
agree.
reset again, and it might be you and me and Mr. Jim Morris and Mr. Sleepy Dave, aka Jay Davenport, and Sandra, and a select few of people that have that particular certain knowledge that keeps us going, and then there's others that are so ignorant that can't see their hand in front of their fucking face. You know what I
That's
mean?
true. Yeah.
It's so agitating. So it's just like, hopefully, we can be together as a group, meet at a certain place, and redirect. I don't know. It's like, what do you do from this point? And things are
I don't
just
know. Like I said, I don't want to come back here. I seriously don't. I feel like I understand now the trap, like the kind of the soul trap of what gets us back here. Because I do think they have to have our agreement. Like I don't think every time we've been like forced to come back here. I think we've been tricked. Like, you need to come back. Don't you want to go back and save the world, or don't you want to go back
right.
and enhance society or contribute your ability? Who knows what they say? But I feel like I've fallen for it. But
Well, it's
no
funny
more.
too, because we've had friends here before, and my friend BTO, very same age as me, I'm 42 now. He passed away a year or so ago. He was the very same age as me, and he died from kidney failure. And he
Wow.
believed in the whole fracture method. Like when we're born, we're like a glass window that is fractured into many different pieces, and then we have to put those pieces back together. And he always felt weird about sharing this and kind of like, I don't know, what is the word? Unsubstantiated or awkward about
Right.
sharing this.
Yeah.
But I was like, just share it because I want to hear everybody's input
Aw.
because I can learn from everyone. We can learn from each other, and I want to
I
hear your
agree.
input. And to me, it was amazing. And I've seen him once since he passed away. I know Sister Sandra has seen him too. But it's amazing. We both saw him in a yellow sweatshirt and some black sweatpants. But yeah, he was opening a door in my house, and I woke up because I heard somebody open the door and flick the light on, and I'm like, who the fuck is in that bedroom? Like, nobody should be in there. My nephew,
Right.
Davy Joe, that was his room. He didn't want anybody in there. He went to see his grandpa that weekend, and so I heard the light click on. So I'm like, who the fuck is in there? So I ran down the hallway trying to see who was in there, and I saw somebody closing the door and then doing like a about face, basically a right shift, and then walking forward very quickly. And I saw him. He had dark hair, he had a yellow sweatshirt, and he had black sweatpants. And he just closed the door, did an about face, basically a right front, and kept walking. And I tried to chase him down. Looked in the kitchen, looked in the dining room, looked in the living room. I did not hear the doors open. So I'm like, who the fuck was that? Like, where did he go? And then Sandra was like, guess what? I saw him too, and he was wearing a yellow sweatshirt. And I'm like, oh my God, it was BTO. I always imagined him shorter than I saw him, but he was the exact height of what he should have been. It was pretty cool. I really miss him. I can't believe he's gone still. Like, he was the very same age as me. And I'm just
Wow.
like, what the fuck happened?
Wow.
How are you gone now? And he was so awesome. And he just felt like nobody wanted to hear what he had to say. But he had a lot of cool stuff to say, really. I don't know.
That's really neat. You know what? Our technology says that's true. What he said, that we're so fragmented,
Mm-hmm.
and that it split us off, and they're using us because only real people, only fire creation, like we fuel this whole matrix. We run absolutely everything. If they took us all out, that's why they need to like seduce us back here. Because if they take out all the real people, this whole matrix, there's nothing left. It's all
And
illusion.
sister, I have to say, the whole Matrix thing really scares me. Like, is this not real life? We're actually in a Matrix? I don't know. That
No,
really
it's not
freaks
real
me
life.
out.
No. You're real, and there are real people. Like some
Oh
of
my
our kids are
gosh.
real, but not every. But most. There's only 1 in 5, I believe, that are real.
What were those movies? The whole Matrix thing with
Well, there's
What's
like the Truman Show, Matrix, The Good Place, the TV
Matrix.
show. They all say the same thing. Yeah, all the Matrix movies
Oh, the
talk
Truman
about.
Show. That was one of my favorites. He's like, what the hell? And he actually goes to the back of it and goes through the door. I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? I don't know. It's so strange to me. Is it really
It is
Matrix?
because it seems so physical, but you, because you can see things other people
Mhm.
can't see, should understand kind of the illusion more than like people that can't see.
Well, and it was so weird to me too. Like when I was here in Phoenix one time and we're going to an airport to drop somebody off and we're going under an underpass and I see this plane flying and then the plane just, I swear to God, the plane just stopped in midair. And as we went under the underpass, it was in the very same position. And as we passed by it, in the very same position.
Yep.
It did not move
Yep.
whatsoever. And I'm
What?
like, how the
What?
fuck is this plane in stasis?
What?
This is not
Yep.
existence because a helicopter could do that, but not a motherfucking airplane. Like, what the hell is going on right now? And I'm just like covering my eyes, uncovering, covering my eyes, uncovering, like trying to reset myself to be like, okay, this is just like some sort of something happening, but no, nothing happened. It just sat there in midair. And this is like a 747 plane. This is not a little puddle jumper that I fly. This is a big plane. It really blew my mind. Like, I still cannot wrap my mind around it. Like, how did that happen? And even driving by
Yeah, it's just a
today, I
glitch.
keep looking, waiting
it's
for
not a
that to
real
happen,
plane.
and it doesn't happen. It just like,
Yeah, it wasn't a real plane.
it just sat there in
Most of them aren't,
stasis.
probably.
It started
Yeah.
coming in, and then it just stopped. And it just
Yeah.
sat there.
I've heard of that. I've heard other people talk about that.
It was so weird. And my sister's boyfriend at the time, he was afraid of planes landing on his head or crashing on his head or whatever. He felt like a plane was going to kill him. And so
Oh, wow.
he'd hide in the back seat with his little back injury or whatever. And when I saw that, he's like, no, 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 no. This can't be true. This can't be true. What are you talking about? No, 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 no. And I'm like, no, it actually is. Like, it's just there in midair. Like, it has not gone anywhere. And I've even felt it when I fly to Arizona, which I hate flying, but they gear down, they go slower, 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 because they're about to land, but not to the point of staying in one place for 5 minutes or more. So weird.
Right. Yeah. Weird.
Matrix?
Super weird. Glitch. Matrix glitch.
Matrix glitch?
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay, so if somebody's looking for a matrix in their life or some sort of glitch, what exactly should they be looking for?
There's a lot of things. So a matrix, well, you can look at matrix. So people are like, well, how do I know if somebody's real or not? Matrix people will never be willing to have like you are open to new information. I'm
Yeah,
open
now
to new
you just
information.
opened a whole new door for me. But continue.
But matrix people, like people in the matrix that are projections, they have a program and they will have a history. So maybe they're nothing to you. Maybe you move to a new neighborhood and it's your cross the street neighbor and they'll be like, hi, I'm Bob, I'm Sue, whatever. But they'll have a backstory. Like if you want to get to know the matrix people, they're like actors. They have backstories. They'll be like, yeah, I have adult children in, Arizona. I mean, like, but how do you know? You don't. If you don't go to Arizona, you don't even know if they have children unless they come here. And people are like, well, I know my mom, is a real person because she had me. Do you?
Mm-hmm.
Can't because we're avatars, can an avatar have a baby and not have a soul? Yes. It doesn't mean your mom is real just because she had you. It doesn't mean she's spirit-filled. So matrix people, and my parents are good examples. Like, I'm like, when Christmas, this was a bad thing. I'm like, Dad, how do you know the Bible's true? Like, do you know who wrote the Bible? And it was a big thing. And, if matrix people don't question, I always say.
I feel like there's scripts uncovered all the time in tombs. Like, tombs are uncovered. There's scripts being revealed all the time. Yes. The truth is going to continue to come out.
Yes, thank you. Exactly. And
it's not all set in stone, honey boo boo.
No, it's not. But matrix people are like the clerk at the grocery store. Like, if you go in one day, let's say you do a small town tour, you look up around you 5 towns that have about 1,500 people in them. And you go to the post office in every town. You go to the grocery store in every town. The people are going to be talking about the same things. They're going to be acting the same way. They're going to say the same thing to you. I don't mean exactly, but I mean pretty darn close.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. I just said this on Twitter today. I'm like, who says you have to live in these little cookie cutter neighborhoods? Doesn't that give it away? Hello.
Right.
Some neighborhoods have to be like all the same shade of tan. Like,
no,
what?
No.
Yeah, and okay, so who made grass? Who says you have to like go to work? You pay for this house, but then you have to be a slave. You have to mow your grass. And if you ever notice when one person mows their grass, like 8 people mow their grass, like it's like so weird. Like it's just so weird. Like if you've ever lived in a neighborhood, I think you can feel the matrix. It's like so fake. Like, people are so fake. You know, have you ever heard people say that? People say that all the time. This person's
People
fake. That
are so
person.
fake, and people
I
pretend to
bet
be
they are
things they're
fake.
not. My sister Kat, she went through colon cancer, which spread to her lungs, which spread to
Oh my
her
God.
brains eventually, and killed her.
What?
She had a friend
Oh my
that would
God.
come over to help her, and this chick was so hardcore, like a drunk, and she drinks all the time. She's trying to open her windows and cut her windows open. She's cutting herself and bleeding all over the place, and then she's stealing weed from my friend, and she's doing other things like that, and I'm just like, oh my god, like, what is wrong with this person? And I think people were just raised a certain way. They don't realize what they're doing. But when it comes to the Matrix, I don't know. I've seen some crazy shit going on. Like I said, the airplane, and then just human
I think it's
activity.
hard. I think the program's like winding down. I do.
Yeah, some human activity. And once you try to correspond a certain way, sometimes they don't know how to react, and they'll kind of
Yes.
stymie for
Yes.
a minute, and then they'll reprogram and they'll come back with
Yes.
something else. And it's like,
That's
well,
it.
that still kind of didn't make sense, but I'm kind of picking up what you're putting down. But I think you and I,
That's
sister,
exactly.
we're not in the Matrix. We're kind of out bounds of the Matrix, but we visit it, and they don't know how to respond to us. I don't know, or
Yeah,
else I'm just really
we're
weird.
yeah, we're like, well, we're eternal consciousness, so we're we're like the all. So we're always outside of the matrix, even though we also are playing this game. I
We're
think
the
it's like a
Oz.
game,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But we're outside, and they're not. Like, they're only here, and they take their directions like from the program, and they can be recalibrated, but not to a like full awake. Like, you're never going to meet like a clone or a Sims that's awake. It's impossible. They can be a walk-in though. Like, a real spirit could walk into them, and then they could be awake.
Yeah. And then you're talking about those babies that are born without souls. Like, to me, that really fucking scares me. It reminds me of that movie Damien and stuff like that, where they're just like
Well, it's
sociopathic,
dark
psychopathic assholes or whatever. Like, they have no souls, they have no feelings. They just like, they diminish and they clear and they kill, clear, diminish, kill, clear, diminish. Like, it's not a good cycle. It's kind of like the cleanup cycle, I guess, if you're thinking about a matrix. But for me, it's like freaky deaky otherworldly stuff. Like, oh my gosh, my neighbor's kid. Okay, I his name was Jameson. I would refer to him as Jameson. I would talk to his parents. His mother was weird. She could have had Tourette's or something like that, but I remember my daughter's dog went over there. She grabbed her by the leash and was holding her up by her head, basically hanging her by her head, bringing her over to the house, basically hanging her the whole time. And then Hercules runs over. He's a pit bull mastiff mix. And he runs over there, he grabs the leash from her hand and directs the dog to the yard, because he's like, bitch, you have fucked this up, and you ain't doing right by this dog, so I'm going to take control here. So a dog takes control of what a human is doing. But her son, Jameson, has been really matrically weird as far as my 17-year-old daughter, Nova, has and her cousin Michaela, which is about a half a year or maybe a year older than her, they refer to him as Lamison. It's Jameson, but it's Lamison's counteractive, like, person. It's not Jameson, it's Lamison. These are two different individuals. So in the Matrix, Jameson is sent back home and Lamison is here in the now, and he shoots people with his gun, and he says certain words, and instead of having his hair messy and mismatched clothes, his clothes are matched and his hair is very nicely combed, and he is very strategic in his words. I shall kill you now, or whatever he says when he's shooting you with the dart gun. This is Lamison.
Wow.
Jameson is just like, pow, 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 and he doesn't really talk. He just like makes sounds and does adjectives and activities, so on and so forth. But Lamison is very inclined as far as mannerisms and such. He has his hair combed correctly. He has very nice clothes on, even a little bow tie. And he still kills the neighbors, but he is very interactive with it. As opposed to Jameson, who's just like, pew, pew, pow, pow, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead. Repetitive words. Very weird. Lameson and Jameson. Have you experienced anything like that?
We call that altars. So we call that, and this can be a couple of different things, because you know that entities can come in, and even entities are really common really on and in people we find. And so there can even be aspects of us, like, you know, sometimes you think you can't say no. That might actually not be you. That could be an entity. So that can either be entities or altars. Sometimes altars are split by trauma. Sometimes they're split by entities. So it sounds like an altar to me.
Yeah, and it's funny because the property we're on is battlegrounds. Yeah. This is where a lot of Native Americans were killed. God. And I didn't even know that until my neighbor was moving out, which is Lameson, a.k.a. Jameson's mom. And she's like, did you not know that our houses are built on a battleground? And I was like, no, I didn't. And she's like, have you not gone to the museum? And I'm like, every time I've tried to go there, it's closed. And she's like, well, we're on a fucking battleground right now, and you need to realize what happened here. And I'm like, well, it really makes a lot of sense to me as far as my activity.
Wow. Yeah. So, and also it could be a human, you know, if you are on that, it could be human discarnates going in and out too, especially if they're violent, you know, or war-ish.
I haven't had a lot of violent spirits come through, but I have had one that came and stuck around in my hallway for quite a while, punching the walls and going back and forth in front of my doorway where I see his shadow, and then I hear him punching the walls and kicking doors open and stuff like that. And he was around for, I would say, like 2 weeks to a month. But yeah, he finally went away. But otherwise, like, it's been pretty peaceful spirits coming and going or whatnot. So it's been pretty peaceful. And the kids are pretty happy for the most part until something like that sticks around. They're like, Mom, what are we going to do? I'm like, I've done a cleansing. I've done a clearing. Like, I don't know what to do. But I think they just stick around waiting for help or something. I don't know what they want, but it's kind of like a learning process, I think.
I agree. I don't think anybody has all the answers.
No. And it's like, for me, once somebody says, I'm an expert, like, for me, that's red flags. I'm like, honey boo-boo. To say you're expert, for me, is pretty hardcore. Like, I've been through a lot. I could say I'm expert, but there's so much I have not experienced that I could not really say that I am, you know? I don't know. How do you feel about your whole spiritual disclosure? Do you think this is a spiritual thing? Do you think this is an algorithm? Are we in a matrix? Like, what exactly do you think is going on with this?
Algorithm. I think, like, all this Q stuff, all this Trump stuff, I think it's just a different side of the same coin. It's still corporation controlled. It's still, it's like an illusion. Like, a lot of this awakening, I think, is false, like a false awakening. I mean, there's like stupid people like Magenta Pixie, who has like 54,000 followers and talks to the Council of Nine. Like, are we all high? Are we like really going to listen to this woman? And like, to me, you connect directly for the information. Like,
and I feel you there. Like, when people are like, I feel everything all the time. Like, no, you don't. Like, if you did, you'd have an answer for all of us. And that's where I'm saying, like, people that say they're experts and stuff, it's like, that's when my red flag comes up, and I'm just like, honey boo boo, you ain't. And you're saying this, like, how do you fucking prove it? How do you fucking prove it? How are you going to convince us?
I don't know. I only know what I know, and there's a lot that I don't know, is what I say.
Me
so
too.
I hate when people are like, what is Bigfoot? I'm like, I don't know. Like, this is what I think right now. I might
I
change
feel like that's
tomorrow.
my cousin brother's
Yeah,
son. No, I'm just
exactly.
kidding.
Probably out
I
here.
feel closely
Probably.
related. And I think we have kind of like commingled as far as like
Oh,
genetically
totally.
meeting
I
up,
agree.
having sex, adventures, so on and so forth. Like, I think we do have portions of Bigfoot within us to a certain
I do too.
extent, but at the same time, they are still out there. They are still trying to persevere and trying to get ahead and just live their motherfucking lives. And I feel so bad, like when the fires happened in Washington, so on and so forth, and the
I
government
know.
came in
Gosh.
and they're carrying them out in nets, and people are seeing these Bigfoot bodies in nets, and they're like, nothing to see here. Nobody look at this. Like, there's actually Bigfoot bodies in your motherfucking helicopter nets going out. Are you going to really say they don't exist? I see them right now. I see them. And we've never really, like, in nature found Bigfoot skeletons and such, because I do think they bury them. I do think they have certain ceremonies, so on and so forth. They don't just leave them laying on the barren ground for people to find. They
Yeah, why
bury
do people
them.
think they're gonna like trip over a dead Bigfoot on a
Yeah,
hike?
they're like,
Like,
oh my god, I've never found a Bigfoot skeleton in nature. Well, because they might bury them, or they might cremate them, or
yeah, how many
something.
human skeletons have you found in nature? Probably not too many. You know.
Exactly. The only one I know of recently was Dylan Redwine's skull found in nature by two hikers. And that's the
Oh,
only reason his father was convicted of his murder, because it found the trauma that happened to him, blunt force trauma to his skull. His dad fucking killed him. And his body was found on one side of the mountain. His skull was found on the complete other side. Not trying to get down
horrible.
and dirty, but he's trying to cover up his ass. You found his skeleton bones over here, and then his skull is found way the fuck over here.
Right.
Luckily, the lady. Okay, so there was a man and woman that went out that day to go hiking. The man is very nature oriented. He knows about different bear and deer and whatever skeletal remains. His wife is more into the cold case files, so on and so forth. So they go out hiking, and she finds Dylan Redwine's skull, and she's like, hey, I think this is a human skull. He's like, no, no, no. That's got to be like a deer skull or bear skull or something like that. That can't be a human skull. And she's like, I really feel like it is a human skull. And he's like, no, no, no. Well, she felt so hardcore about it. Thank fucking God. Because had she not, we would have never realized that Dylan was killed by blunt force trauma. It was actually the top of a human skull. Yes, the coyotes had chewed along the eye lines and around the bases and stuff like that. It was only the top part of the skull, but she knew enough about a human
Wow.
skull that she could say, this is actually a human being. So she called it in that night. Very next day they went to find it, couldn't find it. Very next day they had to call in her husband, and her husband found it, and he held it up and he said, skull, skull, skull. It's kind of irreverent, but it's kind of like a fucking party chant as far as we found his skull. That is when his dad was finally arrested for killing him, because it showed blunt force trauma, which when they found Dylan Redwine's foot bones, his dad kept talking about blunt force trauma like 3 or 4 times, and his son was like, why do you keep saying that? Like, foot bones don't really show blunt force trauma. He's like, yeah, it was
Right.
blunt force trauma all the way.
Weird.
Yeah. Super weird.
Ew.
I don't know. I think he tried to keep it to himself, but he couldn't help it.
Yeah, it's like reverse speech. Like you tell the truth, you know? It's kind of like subconscious.
Okay, so it shows we're at almost an hour and 30 minutes. So where would you like to go from here? Do you want to talk more about your abductions? Anything else within your psychic or learning ability that you've learned that you think we need to hear about or learn from?
Gosh, it's like 12:13 here. I'm like half here. It's late here, girlfriend.
Right.
We've talked about a lot of things. Jeez. Even with going off the air, I still think we've covered a lot of ground. You've done a good job.
Oh, thank you. And I keep wanting to go back to Michelle Freed. Like, she always gives questions and so on and so forth. But I only go back to that if, like, I have nothing else to ask. And I'm like, what else could I ask? And then I look through those. But I haven't even gone there yet tonight because you're very intriguing and interesting. And you have a lot of information to give. So I'm just grateful that you're here tonight and that you've been so patient with our rebooting, etc. Like, that was so bad. I still apologize for that. But it's been super clear since then, so that's good.
Yeah, craziness happens. It really does.
I know, and you were saying, like, maybe it's our intermingled energies and stuff like that. And I'm like, totally. Like, when we have Chris Garcia on, we call it the Garcia effect, but I think once we rebooted, we got past that, so we're doing really good.
It was good.
So where can our listeners find your books, find where to buy them, or where to listen?
Well, I have my own YouTube channel, so it's Secret to Everything, Kimberly McGeorge. The website, secrettoeverything.com, and you can just type my name in on Amazon if you really want to speak about autoimmune disease. I'm working on a book called Secret to Everything Into the Woods, which will have pictures and videos of all my creatures, and I'll be telling stories about, like those pictures and videos. So that's going to be a little tricky because it's kind of labor intensive to pull that all together, but that'll be my next book.
I have a lot of faith in you, and I am super looking forward to that.
You.
But I have to thank you so much again for being my guest tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. It's been a pleasure having you, and I'm so sorry about the crazy hoopla that happened, but I guess, like, talking to you, you're kind of used to that.
No, I enjoyed meeting you, hearing your stories, hearing about your family. It's been wonderful. I've really enjoyed you. Thank you so much. And
well, and you too. And I hope, fortunately, I hope that in the future that we can have you back, because I feel like we kind of just scraped the crust on this, and I'm hoping you can come back and we can talk some more about your experiences, because I don't think we covered everything really.
Probably not. I'm old. We probably have a few more.
Me too. We got a lot of stuff we got to talk about. So if you're willing to, I'd love to have you back again.
I really appreciate you, and I really appreciate the listeners sticking with us too. So thank you, guys.
And I want to thank you guys on our friends list on We Are Paradox Media's Facebook, Spreaker, Twitter, Periscope, iHeartRadio, wherever else you may be listening beyond the Omniverse tonight. It's been a wonderful time, and I can't wait to do it again tomorrow night when we have Mr. Bill Hauser on with his Ghost Box Live. We also have Psychic Chris Garcia on. It's gonna be awesome. You guys, I hope you guys hang in there and come in. Don't forget, we are all in this together. Together, we can make the world a little better. And together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there is no us. Like I said again, we have Mr. Bill Hauser on tomorrow night, featuring Psychic Chris Garcia, where we can not only get the readings off of the Ghost Box, but we also get readings off of Chris, as well as myself and Bill, because I do feel like Bill is gifted. He is amazing. Don't forget, you guys, we're all in this together. Together, we can make the world a little better. And together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there is no us. If you'd like to join us for the Skype after party, look me up and send me a contact request at live.tessa.n.thomas3 888-970-3030 or give us a jingle jangle at 1-970-335-9596. Until next time, nighty night, love and light. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend and week, and I will see you back here, same time, same place. You guys, please, please, please take care of my yous. When you're out in public, wear masks because you can't trust nobody. That's how I feel. I can't trust anybody. I'm going to wear my mask out. In the daylight, in the dark, I don't give a motherfuck. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. You guys, please, please, please take care of my ears. And come join us. Good night, love and light.